All right, good afternoon and greetings from South Georgia, USA. Greetings to the entire world. We're out here on the 19th of April, 2025. We are tending to the fig tree. This particular fig tree has been here for several years and has done very little. It got grown up with a gigantic fire ant bed that dug deep down into the soil. And we have been trying to rescue this fig tree. And we've been working at it pretty hard, putting out fire ant poison and we just noticed that some more are right over here, and I got into them and the fire ants bit me some or stung me or whatever they do. But we're very slowly beginning to get the tree, I believe. I noticed that it actually has some little figs on it. Yes, right here. Come over here and take a picture of this, Debbie. Right there. We got 3 little figs coming. So I think we're making progress. And one day I hope this will be a very large, very productive fig tree. And this is one of those that I rooted years ago from some cuttings from my grandmother fig tree. And I have dubbed it the McCorkle fig because my grandmother's maiden name was McCorkle. And she's the one that introduced me to figs. And she also introduced me to how a woman of faith would act. She was a very non-condemning woman that had very little negative to say about anybody. And if she didn't like somebody or if somebody did something to her, and I guarantee you people did, everybody has people that hurt their feelings, but she never would say anything about it. To her credit. My grandmother lived to be 99 years old. And to the day that she died, she was a faithful, believed in Jesus, and felt like God was going to do the right thing. And this tree is named after her. It's probably a Celeste or a brown turkey. I don't know. We never knew what it was. It was just something that was around there on the farm. And many of those figs back in those days were brown turkey or Celeste. But I'm going to try to rescue it. But I put the hose on this a while ago, right over here. And water ran down under the fig tree for a solid hour without even coming to the surface. So underneath this tree, I'll show you where it is. Underneath this tree is a huge fire ant cavern. And I'll put the water on it right there. And it just runs on and on and on. But this Bermuda grass comes out easier when the ground is wet. Well, God said we would have to work by the sweat of our brow. And the ground would bring thorns and thistles and Bermuda grass messing with our fig trees and fire ants biting us on the legs. But we still are working with joy. Because we believe that Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world, and we believe that He came to earth some 2,000 years ago, made Himself into a human being of flesh and blood, and He took our sin upon Himself. How could He do that? Well, He qualified. He was a sinless human being, the only sinless human being that has ever existed, because He was both God and man. I can't explain exactly how all that works, but I know that's what the Bible teaches, and I believe it. I have faith. Now, this little dam or this moat that I'm putting around this thing, I feel like that's kind of giving me a border so that I can kind of build a wall, a city around this fig tree. I feel like this is the city wall, like the walls of Jerusalem. And that water just washed right straight up under there. I have no idea why it might be going all the way down to the Lime Rock well down there. But I'm kind of enjoying trying to recover this fig tree. I imagine I've put several hundred gallons in this spot right here since I started about an hour ago. We've had to repair one of the hoses, stop several times, trying to get water to work, trying not to get discouraged. It's so easy just to give up and say, what is it worth? What is it all about? Well, we have the promises that Jesus made that when we're resurrected, if we believe in Him, there will be a day that we will be brought from the grave and we will enter into another dimension which does not consist of flesh and blood, which consists of a spirit type realm in which there is no death. There are no fire ants. And I would guess no Bermuda grass growing in your fig trees. That's what the kingdom of heaven is promised to be like. And that kind of keeps us going. Kind of keeps us when we get discouraged. And we get discouraged. Yes, we get discouraged. But we get a night's rest and we get up the next day and we count our blessings, come out and work. And that's what man was made to do. God told us to subdue the world. And I'm subduing this little patch right here. And this little patch is resisting being subdued. That's looking pretty good, in my opinion, right there. I like the way that looks right there. And I'm getting this little moat around here so that the next time I water, it will be ready to put water in and maybe a little fertilizer. So I want to encourage you guys out there, if you're feeling defeated and down and overwhelmed, ask Jesus to come into your life. Ask Him to save you. Ask Him to give you a spirit, God's Spirit, His Spirit. And ask Him to give you joy and peace, His joy and peace. He promised He would do that if you would ask Him for it. Or you can go to a psychiatrist and get medicine to dull your senses. I'm not saying sometimes you might not need a little medication, but that's just to get you past the rough spots. All right, we're going to pause a minute and I'm going to move this hose. I don't know, I suppose I could run this for 10 years and it never would fill that hole up underneath that fig tree. But I'm going to move it to another fig tree. All right, here we are at another little tree here that I am trying to rescue from the ravages of the world. These fruit trees have to be tended. Just like domestic livestock has to be tended. He who tends the fig tree will eat of its fruit. That's one of the promises of the Bible, one of the parables. I mean, it's kind of simple, but it's true. If you work at something, you're going to get some kind of a pay for it. I get a lot of enjoyment myself out of eating some of the fruit of these persimmon trees and these trees that I grow out here, but I get a lot of enjoyment from seeing the beauty of it. Let's look at this guy over here. That right there, that is a Lindy's giant persimmon tree. Now the tree is not a giant, but the fruit is. Let me show you yeah, look at that mound under there. There, look at that. All of those right there will be persimmons. You can see the little persimmon down in there right now coming. See there? This is a Lindy's giant persimmon tree. And I had to prune this tree this winter. Look at all that. See? And I pruned it. I cut it back quite a bit. I cut a good many of the branches off so that it would multiply. And fruit trees do have to be trimmed and pruned, just like we have to be trimmed and pruned. We have to undergo pain, spiritual pain, in order to gain spiritual discernment. And that means, let's see if this one, we put some ant poison on this ant bed the other day, and it did not work. There it is. It's just filled up with ants. Look at that. Well, we're going to put some more on it here in a minute. And we ordered some more. One of our YouTube gurus suggested another kind of ant poison that was better. We're going to put some of the old stuff on here in a minute and water it in lightly, but we're going to be testing some new ant poison. We don't have ant eaters here in South Georgia, so anyway, this Lindy's giant is looking very beautiful. Look at that. Just, there's going to be so many persimmons on it, it's probably going to tear the limbs off this year. All right, we're going to pause and go get that ant poison. All right, this stuff here is called taro for outdoor use around the home. It's got a little spreader on the bag. It says water it in lightly. We're gonna see. I'm gonna get the water and water it in lightly. But as I was saying, let me get this hose and water this in. Jesus said at the time When he went back to heaven after he had been crucified, by the way, Easter is tomorrow, which represents or commemorates the day that Jesus rose from the dead. And Jesus rose from the dead, and he told us that we too would rise from the dead, that he was the first that demonstrated how it would be. And he said we could have that resurrection. He died and he rose from the dead, a spirit type man. He was a little different. His disciples did not recognize him at first. Now, why, what there was different about him, I don't know. But it was him. They were convinced when they talked to him, and he admitted it was him. He showed them the nail marks in his body and the hole in his side. He invited Thomas to stick his hand inside. So it sounds to me like he didn't have any blood. Some other kind of existence, but yet a body. He said he had flesh and bone. But apparently it had no blood, because he said flesh and blood will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So it's a new type of man. A type of man that never dies. It never has to put out ant poison. There will be no tears in heaven. This is what Jesus promised. If you want that, if those words resonate with you, if you perk up when you hear that kind of talk, then the instructions that Jesus said was to believe in him and you would be saved. And he will cause you to be born again as a spirit creature, but not a flesh. It isn't a body. It's a body. It's a spirit body. You'll still have your flesh and blood body, and the ants will still bite you, and the sun will still beat down and make you sweat until that time when your mortal body dies. And Jesus then went and said, I am going back to heaven to prepare a place for you, and I will give you my peace. I give you my peace, he said. And that's to the believers then, and it's to any believers now. He has given us peace. So why is it that so many believers don't have peace? My guess is because they don't really realize he really gave it to them. If he gave it to you, you have it. What's keeping you from enjoying that peace? What is it that's in the way? I'm going to suggest this. It's that you don't trust. If you trust that God knows what he's doing, if you trust that Jesus knows, and by the way, he is God, if you trust that, then everything that happens to you, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, you can say everything is as it should be for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. Yes, we get sick. Yes, we get toothaches. Yes, we get cancer. Yes, we have to be operated on. Yes, we have this trouble and that trouble. But we can say this is all part of God's plan, and it will be over soon. And we can look forward to that. Keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, on his promises. I give you my peace. And that word is shalom. He gives us his shalom. And if anybody ever had any peace, it was him. All right, that's the message of the gospel that I am pleased to be allowed to tell you in the best way that I know how, doing the best that I can. And I did think a little bit about that today. You know, there's people that do this job way better than me. But I was thinking, Jesus told his disciples he would make them fishers of men. That's what I'm doing. I'm fishing to try to catch the interest of those fish that belong to Jesus, or he called them his lost sheep. And I'm thinking about the professional fishermen. Back in my day, it was guys like Bill Dance and several of them that are still around on YouTube, old men now like me. Well, all of them didn't win. There was only some of them that were the champions every year. And there was a whole bunch more that were out there trying to catch the most fish or the most poundage or whatever they were doing. And so I'm just one of the fishermen. And I don't necessarily, I'm not catching, I'm not a big fisherman, but I am fishing hard. And I need to be satisfied that I'm doing it just like many of those professional fishermen that never made it to the top. Many of them probably said, hey, I might not be the best fisherman, I might not be making the most money, but I enjoy doing it. And I'm out here fishing for a living, and I am making a living. Some of them had that attitude, that good attitude. And that's the attitude I'm going into it with. I am fishing for men. I am trying to preach the gospel, and I am by no means the most and the best one. And when I get down about that, I think of this too. And I don't know if it applies what he meant by it, but he said, the first will be last, and the last will be first. So maybe those that were the worst preachers out there, I'm not saying I'm the worst preacher, but I'm down there near the bottom somewhere. But maybe in his way of looking at things, we're out there doing it, trying as the best we can. And maybe we'll be rewarded. And maybe the worst, the last will be the first, and the first will be the last. So by that way, people like Billy Graham, who was adored by millions and preached to 5 different presidents and all of the thing, went all over the world and all that. Well, maybe he will be rewarded the least. Maybe not, I don't know. Sometimes I encourage myself with that. All right, well, I'm fixing to pull this hose over to another fig tree, and I'm going to pause and I'm going to show you that one. All right, we're at another one here. And I am sure, slowly but surely, reclaiming this neglected fig tree. I feel pretty good about this one too. I think fig trees really like water. If they can get it. I feel good about these trees now that I've started to concentrate on trying to bring them back to life and take good care of them. I'm hoping that I'm not going to be making a video out here in 2 months telling you how I failed at this. I don't think I'll fail at it unless I quit. If I quit, yes, I'll probably fail at it. Just like if I quit trying to spread the gospel. The only way for me to fail at spreading the gospel is to quit. Just like I said about those fishermen. Even those fishermen that weren't at the top of the professional fishing list, they caught some fish. So I'm saying, I'm going to catch some fish. Some people are going to hear what I say, and some people are going to say, hey, let me check that story about Jesus out a little bit. Now, I've heard about it all my life. Some of my own relatives have badgered me about it, and I told them to shut up. Don't talk to me about Jesus anymore. You never know, though. Things change. People get sick. They get older. They start thinking more about it. Jesus said, if you declare my name before men, I will declare your name before the angels in heaven. I like that. I like that idea. Is it possible? Yes, it is. That's what he said. There's my fisherman down there. He's fishing. He just keeps throwing that line out. Might not be the best fisherman in the world, but he's going. He's going fishing every day. And by the way, if I'm talking to some of you guys out there that are believers, he wants all of us to go fishing in our own way. Some people might do something like make videos about tending fig trees like I'm doing. They might do it a different way. Some people do street preaching. Some people do music. There's all kind of ways. But you're not going to catch any fish if you don't go fishing. I know that. So I'm hoping that I'm encouraging some of you out there to go a fishing. All right, we'd like to say the Lord's Prayer. It's getting late in the evening. I'd like you to say it with us, and we'll wind this up. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.